Hi, this is Deborah Arca from the Pathos Book Club, and today I'm joined with Robin Davis, who is the author of a new book called Recipe for Joy, a stepmom's story of finding faith, following love, and feeding a family. And Robin Davis is joining us from Columbus, Ohio. Hi, Robin.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good,
You're
thanks.
you're taking time out from writing about food and cooking at this moment to talk with us. So
That is true.
two of your biggest passions. This is a really lovely book. It's a personal memoir of yours, of your journey from a single independent food critic in San Francisco who thought she had her life mapped out for her as a successful food writer, to a wife, a stepmother, and kind of the family chef in Columbus, Ohio. So tell us a little bit about your book, and also what surprises you most about your journey as you look back at it now.
Well, the journey was all an evolution. I definitely thought I had my life all figured out, and don't we all sometimes think we have that? And my father became ill, so I had come back to Ohio to be able to spend time with him, spend time with my sister. And then along the way, I met this wonderful man, or really re met him because we had known each other in college. And he was a widower with three young children. I fell in love with him, fell in love with the children, and decided to really, I don't know how else to put it except say, I jumped off a cliff and married him and became a stepmother to these wonderful kids. And yet it was the scariest thing that I ever did. With my job, I think there's a sense of I can mess up and maybe ruin someone's dinner. But with parenting, I didn't want to mess up anyone's life. I think if there was one surprise in the journey, it was how long it took me to adjust. I'm something of a perfectionist and I like to be very good at things. And parents know that nothing about parenting is perfect. No one is perfect. And it's very hard. Everything changes all the time. And so I think there was definitely that sense for me that about the time I think I had it down, they would change completely.
Hmm.
And that was definitely the hard part. There are studies, by the way, that show that step parenting can take somewhere from 3 to 5 years for the family to feel integrated. And I wish I had known that ahead of time
Hmm.
because I thought, 6 months will all be cool and it'll all be great. It'll all feel normal to me. But that it wasn't really the case.
Yeah, and in fact, you say that's one of the reasons why you wrote this book. In the very end, in the acknowledgments, you say, "Boy, I wish that there was." Your husband and you often say, "I wish there was a book that was a guidebook for what it's like to integrate a family in this way." So one of your reasons for writing the book, I imagine, was to give somebody a guidebook or a recipe, so to speak, for this kind of a path.
That is absolutely right. I wanted people to have a sense that there are other people on the planet who feel the same way, that are in the same situation, and to have that sense of community one way or another. Our situation is a little different because my husband's first wife died. She passed away, and the children's mother died. So it's a little different than a divorce. And I'm not saying it's harder or easier, but it's different. And I just wanted people to have a sense that there are others going through
Yeah,
it.
they aren't
And
alone. Right, right. How is parenting like cooking?
mm, it's alike and it's completely different. With cooking, I'm pretty sure what I do, the results I'm going to get. If I chop an onion and I cook it at a certain heat and I add some tomatoes and I put it on pasta, I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. With parenting, with children, things change all the time. And so I can try one thing, conversations, texting, Skyping with the kids, and maybe that works sometimes, and maybe it doesn't other times. So there are similarities. I think the thing that's most important is to not be afraid and to never give up and keep trying. And I say that like it was difficult. And these kids are amazing
Yeah,
and
they
they were
sound amazing.
great. It was never a problem. But from my standpoint of being a good parent, I just constantly felt like I needed to try new things and be better.
To talk about the dinner table as being a place that was about much more than just dinner.
Yes.
It seemed like it was a place where kind of an entree into you as becoming a mother to this family and becoming a part of the family, but it was also something more for the entire family. It sounds like.
It was. I talk in the book about a game we played called High Low. So we would go around and just be able to say what was the best part of your day and what was the worst part of your day. And that gave us great insight into what the kids might be thinking and feeling. It certainly gave us insight into what was going on in their day. And it also gave us just an opportunity to bond together, the five of us. It mattered less about what was on the table, but a lot about what was in our hearts. And we were also sometimes very silly at the dinner table. You know, we would have little food fights or we would joke with each other. It was just a safe, happy, no expectations kind of place.
Mm-hmm. It seems like there is something about food and sharing a meal that allows that kind of letting down of the guards. And I think about all the passages in the Bible that are rich with feasts and food and weddings, and Jesus feeding his disciples fish on the beach, which is one of my favorite stories, and of course the very intimate and beautiful Last Supper. There seems like that food is very much linked to our spirituality and our life together. Did you discover that more so, being in a family, and or has it always kind of been that way for you?
Well, food was kind of my passion, and for the time that um, I don't want to say I didn't believe in God, but I wasn't really interested in religion. Food became my religion. But really, you're absolutely right that all those passages that have Jesus talking about food and all his miracles about food are so fascinating and so spiritual. I think it's constantly the idea that Jesus is feeding us. Up until the time he died, Jesus is feeding us. So I think every time we sit down at a table together, we're feeding one another both food, but we're feeding each other spiritually and in terms of that sense of community, that idea that you're not alone, we're all here. And I think that's a very holy, special thing.
Mhm. Yes, I agree. Well, let's talk about your kind of faith journey. That's a big part of this story as well. Your journey, kind of to rediscovering a relationship with God, and then ultimately joining the Catholic Church, which was not the church you grew up in. I don't think, right? Right,
Right,
right.
that's
Yeah.
absolutely right.
So this was a brand new tradition for you. Now your husband to be was Catholic, so that was kind of a natural, maybe first place to start. But talk a little bit about your faith journey, and well, I'll let you talk about that, and then I want to talk to you a little bit about how your prayer life kind of emerged as well over this time.
Okay. I grew up in a kind of non-specific religious tradition. There wasn't a lot of religion in the house. I joined a group called Fellowship of Christian Athletes when I was in high school. It was this great group of teens, and we were terrific together and had this spiritual bond. But after my mother died, frankly, I got very angry with God, and I'm like, this is it. This is what you do. Not interested. And so I walked away and just wasn't interested. But I never lost the feeling that God was there. I just kind of told myself I didn't want to play that game. But after my father died, I found myself praying, and I was surprised. And my prayers were, please, please, please. Literally, that was it. It was all I could handle, was just to say that. And I wondered, why was I doing this? Why was I reaching out? As I met Ken, my husband, who's one of the most God-loving people I've ever met in my life, he had this amazing faith in the face of a tragedy, having lost his wife, who was just 35 years old, and being left with three children. never doubted his faith, never questioned his faith, and never doubted God's love for him or his love for God.
Yeah.
And I just thought, all right, what do you have? Because I think I want some of that. Whatever that is, I need that. I love that. So my faith journey started with him. And then it really grew as I went through the RCIA process at St. Bridget. I was very fortunate. The deacon who handles that is an amazing man. And he told us stories and things like, you think you're here because you want to have a Catholic wedding, or you think you're here because you need to get confirmed before your kids get confirmed, but you're really here because Jesus wants you here. And it was things like that that he would tell us that would make me stand back and say, I think he's right. And then you have to answer it. And you have to answer that and say, okay, Jesus wants me here, so now what? And that's where the journey started.
And yes.
Go ahead.
No, and you're talking about your prayer life reminded me a little bit about another very popular food and faith memoir by Elizabeth Gilbert, Eat, Pray, Love, where she talks about basically starting her relationship with God on the floor of her bathroom, just sobbing. And I don't know if it was please or it was something like that, but often that place of just very little words, and you call them whispers. And then those whispers gradually became more confident words and dialogue with God. Can you just talk a little bit about that progression for you in your prayer life, and maybe how you pray now?
Yes, and you are absolutely right. When I read Eat, Pray, Love, that's how I felt. I thought, oh my gosh, that was me. And clearly our paths took us different directions.
Yes.
But I loved that book as well.
Yeah.
I did start, I think as many people do, even with those prayers of please, please, please. That's me asking, right? That's me saying, God, I need you. I need this. And my prayer life initially after that, and it was always, and still is to a great degree, in my car as I drive to and from work, because there's no one there generally, and I'm not distracted. So that'll be my time to pray. But for a long time, it was, hey, God, here's what I need. Can you watch over my family? And I'm kind of mad at this situation at work. So it was always a laundry list. Here's what I need. And then over time, I started to expand it to, can you help me? Can you help my attitude? Can you help the way I think about things? And recently, even very recently, what I've tried to do instead is to just listen and just say, okay, God, what do you need from me? And that will be the only question. And then I try to listen. And I think that's kind of the hardest part for sure, because in that silence, I so want to say, oh, and by the way, I need this and I need that. But it's the listening part that I think is what I'm trying to do now, and just try to figure out every day, what does God need from me?
That's lovely. Thank you. Thank you. I always find it really fascinating to ask people how they pray, because there's so many different ways, and I think God is with us in so many different ways and comes to us in ways that work for us. And so finding that your way with God, I think, is a really important part of all of our faith lives. Well, thank you. This has been really great talking with you. You have some really great recipes in this book, and as a foodie, I want to make every single one. There's a goat cheese recipe, a goat cheese salad. There's a wonderful prosciutto wrapped asparagus. There's a sour cream apple some dessert that sounded really good. Anyway, that's part of the gift that you will get when you buy this book. Is you'll get some really delicious recipes, and you also get a very big dose of honesty in this book. And I wanted to make that clear too, that this is really a book that doesn't sugarcoat over what this experience was like, but really talked about the struggles that you had, and some of your a brief season with depression. And so I think it's a really helpful, touching, and important book for people that are finding their way into new families and into their life with God. So thank you, Robin. Go to the book club and check out, we have an excerpt from the book. We've got one of the recipes on the site, and we have a lot of bloggers that are going to be talking about the book and how it resonated with their lives. So thanks, Robin,
Thank you, Deborah.
for your time today. Blessings on your family and your work and your life, and we'll see you all at the book club. Bye-bye.
Thank you.